Yo.
Okay, so welcome everyone to our third virtual equity workshop series. The topic tonight is dismantling white supremacy culture in schools. This should be about an hour-long presentation, and we are really highlighting the work of the Summer Racial Justice Academy that does the change-making work of dismantling white supremacy culture in schools. So we'll go through some of the characteristics, and we will end the meeting with a student panel. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Autumn Bangura. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Equity Instructional Leader of the Burlington School District and a member of the Office of Equity. And I'm co-facilitating this with the students and with my colleague Sparks. So I'll pass to Sparks to introduce himself.
Thank you, Autumn. I'm Sparks. I am the Director of Equity for the school district. And thank you all for being here tonight. We really value your input and appreciation for you all being here. Thank you.
All right, welcome. And I'm going to have the student panelists go ahead and introduce themselves. Kali, you're going to take it away on calling on folks. And the prompt for the beginning, since white supremacy culture is related to racism, is to just share an experience of how racism you've witnessed or experienced in the Burlington School District. So Kali, I'll have you kick it off, and then you can call on the other students.
Oh, you want me to ask the questions?
Autumn, we can't hear you.
Sorry, just the first question, just to get us kicked off, is where have you witnessed or experienced racism in the Burlington schools?
Okay, I think we can start with Habiba.
A way that I experienced racism is getting my name mixed up like with another student in my class who was part of the global majority.
Okay, thank you. Can we go with Christina?
I haven't really experienced it myself too much, but like when teachers gravitate towards a person of the global majority when teaching about something like Black History Month or like Asian American History Month and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Dalip?
I also haven't really experienced it much, but I have seen people experience it like outside of class and also inside of my class. And also what Christina said is also like more when they're talking about things like Black History Month or like stuff that happens in our school district.
Okay, thank you. Mikael?
Oh, what was the question again?
Is if Mikael, it's if you can share an example of where you have witnessed or experienced racism in the Burlington School District.
Oh my God! Oh. I've witnessed racism with people like mixing up names and stuff like that, or like my friends like would start making fun of like someone because like they're like a different race, and so and they would like all start laughing and stuff.
Okay. Rose?
Well, I'm white, so I haven't really experienced like any firsthand racism directed at me, but in class, like witnessing teachers referring to students by like the wrong name, or like knowing that they messed up on a name and just refusing to change it, like just being like, oh, that's too hard for me or something like that. I've seen that a lot. So
Thank you, Rose. Victoria?
I'd say a time I experienced racism was in my health class when I had been like denied the opportunity to go to the bathroom, and one of my white peers was able to go right after, and in that same class I was kicked out for a certain period of time for the same behavior that my white friends continued to do.
I see Isha join.
Kali, why don't you share yourself? You should
Oh.
just-
Oh, you want me to share?
Yeah.
Okay. I've experienced many racial conflicts. And for example, once during class, not once, multiple times, I have been mistaken for another kid too many times just because we have the same hair or because we're just both Black. Sorry, I don't. Isha, would you like to share now?
What are we sharing?
Autumn, can you reshare the question?
Yes. Welcome, Isha. So it's just to share an experience where you have witnessed or experienced racism in the Burlington schools.
I've never seen it happen with my own eyes or myself.
That's good to hear. Is that everyone, Kali?
Yes, that's everyone.
All right. So the reason why we asked the students to do this, to just ground us when we're talking about white supremacy culture, we're referring to experiences of the culture of racism, systemic racism in school. We're going to go over the agenda. I'll pass it to Sparks.
Thank you. One of the things I want to say before I jump into the agenda for the night, me as a Black man in this district, I experience racism every day. And I'm sure our students experience difficulties, challenges, racism, white supremacy culture. And as we look at a lot of our data around suspensions, who's learning, and decisions that are being made, we experience difficulty. So one of the reasons we are doing this workshop is to make sure we are listening to our students and making sure students are heard and we respect student voice. And it's not just hearing from students, it's actually having students work with us as we create a different agenda for our kids, for our students. I want to make sure as we, the adults, our district leaders, talk about white supremacy culture, dismantling white supremacy culture and anti-racism, we are having these conversations in our classes. We are having these conversations in different places where our students are a part of those conversations. So the agenda for tonight, white supremacy culture and how does it show up in our schools? What is Burlington School District doing to dismantle white supremacy culture? Our student panel, and thank you students for being here. The Summer Racial Justice Academy. And finally, recommendations and our progress. Recommendations and progress. And finally, questions and answers. Back to you, Autumn.
Thanks, Sparks. So this is just a plug, just to let you know that this is the 4th year that we have been offering equity workshops for the community. And we have started to we co-construct these with the students. So this is the 3rd one. We did one on the restorative code of conduct and on HHB. And we have one more slated in January, the last of our virtual series for LGBTQIA+, Building Safe and Inclusive School Climates. And then this year, we're doing an in-person equity workshop series on disability advocacy. So you can see the dates there, and those links are on our website. So you can always drop in onto our website. Just Google BSD equity workshops, and these will pop up. Back to you, Sparks.
So, white supremacy culture in schools, unpacking the work of Dr. Tuma Okun. Acknowledgement. While Tuma Okun's work has been widely accepted and used to reveal the characteristics of white supremacy culture, there are many scholars of the global majority who wrote about and identifies white supremacy culture long before Okun. So one of the things that a lot of folks are unaware of, our district, we have been doing this work for quite some time. So as we go back historically, our school district has been working on racism. This is the first time that we have really gone deeper. And we continue to go deeper and deeper because what we understand, racism impacts our students of the global majority's learning. It impacts how they show up in our schools. It impacts their safety. It impacts them being students and students that should have equal access to everything that they need in order to move forward and to excel in our schools. And sometimes it may not be equal. Sometimes students of the global majority need more. So as we think about moving our work forward as a school district, we have to really think about our white teachers, how we work with them to support them in this work, how we support their growth and development in doing this work and dismantling white supremacy culture. We also have to think about how do we really support our students and bring students into the work. Autumn?
Thanks, Sparks. So the next piece is to really differentiate between the two sides of white supremacy. So when we first started using the words white supremacy culture in our school district, many of our white teaching staff responded with a lot of defensiveness because they were like, what? You're calling me a white supremacist? So we thought it was really important to really differentiate between white supremacy as an ideology and white supremacy culture as systemic racism and how it integrates into systems. So the two sides of white supremacy. So white supremacy, as it stands, is a belief system that was created to justify colonization and slavery, that divides people into racial groups based on physical characteristics, based on the notion that the white race is inherently superior and deserving of dominion over others. Think KKK, overt racism, the really bad stuff. That is not generally the problem that we're seeing in schools. The problem we're seeing in schools is much more hidden, and it is more indicative of white supremacy culture. White supremacy culture affects everyone. They are the systems, structures, and cultural norms constructed during a time when white supremacy was a prevailing belief system that continue to perpetuate racial disparities, uphold white dominance, and protect the status quo. These systems were designed to resist change and therefore persist in the absence of explicit white supremacist beliefs. So I think it really helps to address the white fragility and the defensiveness to say, like, hey, we know you're not a card-carrying KKK member, but everyone is affected by white supremacy culture, and we need to do the work, the unlearning, in order to do better. So Sparks, if you want to define what it means to be anti-racist.
So what does it mean to be anti-racist? Well, our little feller here, the first guy, anti-racist. Racism is about a system of inequality, and I'm a part of that system. How can I combat racism in society and myself? Our yellow guy here, I think everyone should be equal. I'm not a racist. I'm colorblind. And I've heard throughout my career and life, a lot of folks say I'm colorblind. So that means me as a Black man, they don't even see me. They don't acknowledge me. They don't know I exist. So being colorblind means that you are not really understanding and seeing people and the impact of that statement. Our little devil here, I don't like people in that other group. I'm better than them, and I'm proud to be a racist. So as we think about this work, we have a long way to go in our district because we need to really help people understand what racism is, what anti-racist work is, what white supremacy culture actually means. So as we move our work forward, we also have to make sure we are bringing our students and the community along with us. Racism is not just a Burlington School District issue. It is definitely a worldwide issue. But we have to think about what we can do in our school district and in our community to move the work forward. Autumn?
Thank you, Sparks. So we're just going to ground ourselves now in the work of Dr. Tema Akun and Kenneth Jones to start talking about the characteristics of white supremacy culture. So this is a quote from Dr. Akun. This is a list of characteristics of white supremacy culture that show up in our organizations. Culture is powerful precisely because it is so present and at the same time, so very difficult to name or identify. The characteristics listed are damaging because they're used as norms and standards without being proactively named or chosen by the group. They're damaging because they promote white supremacy thinking. Because we all live in a white supremacy culture, these characteristics show up in the attitudes and behaviors of all of us, people of color and white people. Therefore, these attitudes and behaviors can show up in any group or organization, whether it is white-led or predominantly white, or people of color-led or predominantly people of color. All right, and I forgot to say, please do use the chat for questions, and especially now as Sparks kind of goes over these characteristics, you can respond to the question, which of these characteristics do you tend to uphold in your personal and professional lives?
Perfectionism, sense of urgency, defensiveness, quantity over quality, worship of the written word, only one right way, paternalism, either or thinking, power hoarding, fear of open conflict, individualism. I'm the only one. Progress is bigger, more. Objectivity, right to confront.
All right.
And the only thing I would add, I'm sure folks on the call can definitely identify more. And we'll get to giving you all an opportunity to do that. But the list grows and it's much bigger than what we're just seeing here.
And thanks for Christina sharing that she tends to gravitate towards perfectionism. And mine is definitely a lot of these, all of these, but sense of urgency is one that I've recognized in myself. And as a result, I've left people's voices out and inadvertently upset them. Thanks, Rose. Perfectionism or power hoarding. And as we go through this, feel free to say how it affects you in your personal and professional lives as well. Let's see. All right, so this piece is just looking at how white supremacy culture shows up in schools. So you can see in the middle the characteristics of white supremacy culture that Sparks just named. And then in the white print on either side is things that we hear in meetings from teachers. So we're just going to kind of do a little matching game. I'm sure some of the teachers on this call can recognize that you've heard a lot of this. And so if you say you'll need to run that by admin first, it could be many of these characteristics, but it's definitely paternalism and defensiveness. Our students' teachers are not racist. They just don't know what they're saying. Obviously, that's defensiveness. How can we make it safe for everyone? That's the right to comfort. What does the research say? Worship of the written word. And again, these statements can fall under many of these characteristics. Our students need to show independence with these skills. That could be the either or thinking or worship of the written word. I don't know if we want to set that precedent that everyone will want this. And that, you thinking either or thinking. How will this raise our test scores? Worship of the written word. Progress is bigger, more. It's not fair to the high achieving students if we slow down to meet everyone's needs. I'll let people think about that one. Defensiveness. We don't want to alienate anyone. Fear of open conflict. We can't just focus on equity. How we get all the other priorities covered? Your understanding of equity should be equity infiltrates everywhere. So again, individualism. That's really not how we have done things here. Paternalism. How can we avoid pushback? Fear of open conflict or right to comfort. I don't think people are ready for that. Defensiveness. Sparks?
So, how white supremacy culture shows up at work. Be familiar with the dominant culture norms that impact your work and the settings you work in. Take a support role when working for justice in marginalized groups other than your own. To decenter yourself. Resist the urge for quick, visible, feel-good actions that are more performative than transformative. Decolonize your own thinking. What is right, normal, fair, valuable, or necessary to you may be influenced by colonial interest in a simulation.
Thanks, Sparks. So those are some strategies for how to dismantle white supremacy culture in schools. So this is just saying, hey, what is Burlington School District doing already to dismantle white supremacy culture? And these are just a couple examples, but I really want to highlight, especially since we started with sharing vulnerable stories of racism that exist in schools, that although we're proud of this work, we need to do more. We definitely need to do more. And we're consistently hearing stories of harm. So just recently, last week, we had our first Black Parent event, Breaking Bread and Building Bridges for Black Parents at City Hall. About 50 Black parents attended, and it was the collaboration between the Office of Equity and the Burlington City Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Department with Kim Carson. As we're highlighting on this call, the work of the Summer Racial Justice Academy will be going into year 4. Every student on this call has been a member of the Racial Justice Academy, and they're really actually doing a lot of the change-making work towards moving the needle towards change in our school system in terms of dismantling white supremacy. The cabinet, the Burlington School District leadership team, is on year 2 of an anti-racist learning cohort with Trust Leadership Collaborative. There's some outside consultants that have been hired to make leadership shifts. They just had a long retreat yesterday, and they're on year 2 of working with the cabinet. Additionally, we have professional development strands for 6 through 12 educators, and they're on year 2 with that. And Sparks, you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so when we had the Breaking Bread and Building Bridges dinner, one of the things that came up continually from Black parents, they don't believe that the district is providing their kids with a high-level quality education. They believe that their kids are being left out. They believe that their kids are not offered the same high-level AP and honors classes. They believe that their kids are not being called on and or challenged and pushed. So as Autumn said, we have a long way to go. We do. Because as we think about students of the global majority and really dismantling white supremacy culture, we have to understand that students of the global majority are just as eager to get into colleges or wherever else it is they want to go. And it is our responsibility to make sure we are providing them with the tools necessary to get there. But it was just really interesting from both sides, even as we think about African Americans who are descendants of slaves and African Americans who may be new to America. They both said the same thing, that we are not providing their kids with a top shelf education, and we have to do better with that.
Thanks. And that's really highlighted here by this pyramid you see on this slide, because it focuses on deeper learning and a deeper learning goal. And I'm talking a lot about professional development for teachers. And the big professional learning inquiry is for teachers is, how might I use deeper learning strategies to become actively anti-racist in my day-to-day interactions with students, families, and colleagues? And this bulleted list is definitely not inclusive of all the great work that's being done. But we are on pre-K through 5 educators didn't have a chance to do the anti-racism professional strands last year because of the new literacy program. But this year they have anti-racist professional learning communities, PLCs, for those educators. And the Office of Equity has been expanding these trainings to offer anti-racist trainings with property services, with food services, with athletics, and extended learning opportunities. The after school site staff, we just did one today, and we're doing one with athletics tomorrow. So the next piece.
Can I just jump in real quick, Autumn? The other thing that folks should know, historically, our district has left out big groups of folks, food services, property services, and we do know that those folks interact and engage with students on a daily basis. So we're trying to make sure they know what we're doing because they are a part of it. And as we think about the dismantling white supremacy culture, we have to do a better job at making sure students are a part of the work. Back to you, Autumn. Thank you.
All right. So this next piece is, we name these really hard things, the way white supremacy culture might show up in schools. But there are also in these resources a list of antidotes. So as we were highlighting some of the things BSD is doing, we thought we'd just kind of go through and say, okay, so for the first one, perfectionism. The antidote to that is to develop a culture of appreciation and a learning organization where people can take risks and feel like they make mistakes. And some of BSD's examples is we have BSD's Best, Teacher Appreciation Week, and we do this restorative climate and culture survey to really make sure that we use data to collect people's sense of belonging and support from their leadership. Sparks, do you want to do sense of urgency?
I was just going to say BSD's Best is an opportunity for anybody in the district to highlight one of their colleagues and appreciate one of their colleagues. So as we think about the best, it just gives us an opportunity for really supporting one another's work. Sense of urgency, realistic work plans, leadership, which understands that things take longer than anyone expects. And that also includes our critics. It includes the community, because a lot of folks want it now, they want it yesterday. And as we think about this work, it's hard, grueling work that is going to take a long time. And the way we are addressing that is through, we have a 5-year strategic plan that was designed by students, teachers, community members. It was a very long, involved process where we had many people create that strategic plan, because one of the things Superintendent Flanagan wanted to do was to make sure we gave everybody an opportunity to help us to create that. Because one of the things we have to understand, a strategic plan of a school is not just for that district. It impacts the entire community. And as we build the new high school and ask the community to help us fund it, they have to be included in this plan. And every step of the way, students were, teachers, parents, community members, and so on and so forth were involved in it. And we continually use this plan to go back to make sure we are meeting the goals and objectives in the plan.
So just some other examples. You can see defensiveness, like when the students started taking some power and sharing their thoughts, a lot of the staff reacted like, wait, what? We're going to let students tell us what to do. And we're like, yeah, and their lived experiences are really valid. So Racial Justice Academy is a shining example of an antidote to defensiveness. Having a mission statement. Every learner is challenged, empowered, and engaged. And then combating worship of the written word is some of the things that we do, like flexible pathways, alternative programs like BCL and YPAR. And you want to go through this next slide, Sparks?
No, I was just going to say, and restorative practices.
Yeah. So we'll share this on our website too. We don't have to go through all of these just because of time. But you can,
so let's keep moving. We can keep moving.
Yeah, you can see these examples that we have: superintendent advisory groups, the restorative code of conduct, which really combats either or thinking, the power hoarding work to make changes in leadership. We have an equity request ticket system that's really been used frequently, that makes people gives people a chance to report inequities that they notice in the district and then have some responses to problem solve them. And then I think there's just a couple more.
And we also have a call-in line.
Yep, we have a see something, say something call-in line. And we respond to those. We check that every day. All right, my favorite.
What's the call-in line?
Thanks, Christina. You want us to explain? I'll see if I can think in.
I was just wondering what it is.
It's
if that number is widely known.
Yeah, so apparently if you don't know about it, we didn't distribute it widely enough. but we had years ago a hazing, harassment, bullying anonymous call-in line if students and others didn't want to be publicly known for reporting. We created a line. So as we think about BSD safety, we created another line for tips, anonymous calls, and anybody can call in and say, hey, I saw this, this is happening. And as Autumn just said, we check it daily, and it's an opportunity for people to report things that they are seeing, experiencing, and it gives us an opportunity to really follow up with them.
So it's like a phone call equity ticket almost?
Yep, kind of like that. But yeah, so what one of the things we really want to do is provide students and others, even our adults, a variety of ways of reporting things and making sure they feel safe when they report things. We want to just give folks an opportunity to anonymously report and or report to us. And with the equity ticket, as Autumn said, one of the things that's happening now, that system is really being used, but the phone, not so much. So maybe we need to figure out a better way to let folks know that that line exists.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sparks.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Christina. And I would just add the see something, say something is more related to safety, like and gun violence and things like that. Okay, my favorite part, really to highlight the students and the student work. So I'm going to turn it over to Kali, who's graciously accepted the role of MC tonight to be able to call the students in. And I hope you enjoy hearing a little bit about their experiences. So Kali.
Thank you. I would say let's start with Christina because she seems like, that's the really good starter,
Thanks, Kali. Am I answering like the questions, like all of them up there, or just the first one?
Just the first.
Well, the Summer Racial Justice Academy is like a youth consultancy program, and what we do there is basically educate ourselves in order to educate others. The most recent one we had, I was a youth facilitator, so my job was to create like slides and like plans to educate the other participants of the Summer Racial Justice Academy. And then what we did is use that learning to create like slideshows in order to educate like the other members and faculty members of BSD. And I thought it was like, I think it literally might have even been more fun as a youth leader because like we got to see like the behind the scenes of doing the whole academy. We came in early. It was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. And this year it was very much youth led, and that was more freeing than in the past years. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Next, can we go with Isha?
No, it's gonna
It's like a program where like people get together and just talk about like things that need to be fixed in the Burlington school district. And my experience was actually like fun working with other people and getting to know their thoughts on stuff like that.
Okay, Mikael.
Sorry. What is the question?
It's the first one. What is the Summer Racial Justice Academy, and what has your experience been like?
It was really fun. I really enjoyed doing it, and I would hope to do it again. Because we got to experience like working with like other kids, and seeing like how they felt about like their skin color and stuff. And we also got to like do like presentations with slideshows and stuff, talking about like how we felt and stuff like that.
Okay, let's go with Habiba.
Racial Justice Academy is basically uplifting like students' voices in the Burlington School District and talking about like their experiences and what the witness that was happening in like the school district, and they're and trying to like dismantle it. And my experiences was great, like learning about stuff I didn't learn before, and basically talking with other people about their like experiences.
Okay, can we go with Victoria?
Okay, so Christina basically covered it, but I'll like add what I can. The Summer Racial Justice Academy is kind of an opportunity for students who not only want to talk about making change, but actually like do something about it, and then also like educate themselves a bit more on issues of racism in the Burlington School District. Um, I had a great time. I did it for 2 years. My favorite parts were probably like having people from the community come in and do things like poetry or just like educate like the members there on some topics that we might not be as familiar about, and probably the capstone projects because we could choose different areas. It didn't just have to be like a presentation, it could be art or poetry or like a dance or something like that. So yeah.
Rose.
Yeah, so I feel like it's already been covered mostly, but it's yeah, it's the opportunity for like advocacy in the district. Students get paid to go like do research and hear perspectives about other people's experiences with racism in the district, and then pick sort of what like outlet they want to either like advocate for or like advocate against, and what they how they want to express what they learned at the end of the academy. And my experience was pretty positive. I enjoyed it. I think it was really interesting to hear what different people had to say, and the people who came in and gave presentations, and then hearing everybody's capstone projects at the end was really interesting as well.
As for me, the Summer Racial Justice Academy, it was such a great experience, and I'm so glad I got accepted to go because I met so many different people from different backgrounds that I wouldn't usually wouldn't usually go to or make friends with, and it's really given me confidence to go and speak out. Dolly, can you go please?
My experience was great at SRJ. I got to meet a lot of new people and talk about things that are happening in Burlington School District. I loved connecting with people and how their opinions was on things that are going on. I also liked the projects that we have done in the SRJ. It was just a fun thing to do, and I would definitely love to do it again.
All right, so the second question is, what was your 2023 capstone project? And for those of the students who weren't able to come for 2023, you can share what you did for 2022.
Can we start with Dolly this time, since you went last?
My capstone project was discrimination in our schools, and it was we're just talking about what students see in our school district that adults don't, like how people should handle discrimination and harassment, and like the after act of people handling it. And we had a lot of different people within the slides. We also talked in front of a group of adults, and that's pretty much what we did.
Period, Dolly. Can we go with Rose?
My 2023 capstone project, well, I think I did it the summer of 2022, actually. I didn't do it the 2023, but my capstone project in 2022 was a presentation about microaggressions in the classroom and holding teachers accountable, and the best way to do that.
Can we go with Victoria?
So I did not go to the Summer Stress Academy in 2023, but last year I did a presentation about staff accountability.
Christina.
Summer of 2023, I did I was in the documentation capstone capstone group, and we documented basically the entirety of the program, and we conducted interviews, came up with interview questions, and interviewed the willing people of the program.
Can we go with Victoria?
I already went, but thank you so much, Coley. I would not like to go again.
Oh, I'm sorry, Victoria. Dalib. Sorry. Habiba.
I was in the documentation group as well, and we basically interviewed people talking about their experience at SRJA and experiences in the Burlington School District, and recording the other capstone projects.
Thank you. For mine, I read a poem along with a few others about racial injustices in the school districts and how we wouldn't want our siblings to experience the same things. Can we go with Isha?
I did documentary too, and we brought people from different capstones and interviewed them, talking about their personal experience.
Mikael?
Question, please.
The question is, what was your 2023 capstone project?
I don't remember, but I remember my partners. I can't really remember, but I remember it was
Mikhail, can you share about when you went to Flynn Elementary?
Oh, okay. So me and my partner Ellie, we went to Flynn to read a book about skin colors to I think it was like second grade students, and we would read like a few pages, and we would ask them about like how they thought about the pages, or like how they thought about their own skin color, and how they felt about their skin color, how they felt at school, if they were safe or not. And then we, at the end, we asked them if they could like draw themselves with their skin color and like as much detail as they could add. And it was pretty fun.
Rose, I don't know if I called on you yet.
Is this for the second question?
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so that's everyone.
So for the third question, this one will just be for the high schoolers because they have the most institutional knowledge of what's been going on. So the question is, what are some recommendations for change that Racial Justice Academy students have made to improve the school district? And what changes have you actually heard about or noticed happening or experienced happening at BSD?
Okay, let's start with Dolly.
Let's
I'm not
high schoolers, high schoolers only, high schoolers
just
only.
high schoolers just because they
Christina.
will, yeah.
I forgot. Christina.
One of the recommendations that I've actively like seen is the youth mediators, like peer mediation, and that kickstarted. I haven't really and I was a youth peer mediator, and the idea is nice, but I feel like it hasn't really like taken root, it hasn't really done anything yet. I think it's still in the like beginning developing stages, but I could I could definitely see that being helpful in the future.
Okay, Victoria.
Like Christina said, one of the things I've seen is the peer mediation. But then one thing that was recommended from SRJ was defining like protocols for staff when they cause harm to students. So, yeah.
Rose.
Similar to what Victoria said, like staff accountability basically is a recommendation, and also just like combating microaggressions in the classroom. And then one of the things that I've seen, or I help co-teach one of the professional development strands, so that's something that's made some progress, but I think there's still work to be done in that area.
Can I go again?
Yeah, Christina, you can. Yeah.
Well, two of the big ones were ensuring BIPOC students have BIPOC classmates, and also hiring and supporting BIPOC teachers and staff. The staff one is a lot harder to come by and to do, but for the ensuring BIPOC students have BIPOC classmates, for me personally, I have definitely actually seen a shift, because last year in a lot of my classes, I would be the only person of color or the only Black person in my classes. But this year, a majority of my classes, I think every single one of them, I have at least one other Black person in my class. And it just feels a lot better. I feel more comfortable, and I feel like my learning it just feels better, especially when we were doing group projects.
Um, to improve the school district, I don't. What changes have you heard? I noticed that students, they're like for me, for example, they're more encouraged to speak up and speak up for themselves instead of just staying silent and hiding behind like a teacher or a white student. So they're more encouraged to speak up, and when something happens to them, they can report it instead of being scared that they're going to be looked down upon.
Thanks, Kali. So we're on to the last question, which is what else needs to happen to dismantle white supremacy culture in schools?
And this is for everyone, correct? All the students?
Yes.
Okay, can we start with Dalib?
Oh, sorry. Um, um, I think what else needs to happen is probably I don't know, give people chances, because I think there's like a lot of things that you like have to be good at in the beginning to like actually do in the future, because like an example is what I've heard in my school that I go to. You have to be recommended from a teacher in 7th grade to be in algebra, and like that's it. You can't join algebra at all after that.
Oh, thank you, Dalib. Christina?
I think that what else needs to be done is like just like grace periods. I feel like a lot of things that I'm seeing in my teachers and in just school is the perfectionism piece and the sense of urgency sense of urgency. And like because like they're urging deadline um like all the time, and it feels like it's definitely taking away from my learning, because I'm thinking of get like submitting it by the deadline and it has to be perfect to get the A. And I feel like if we just put a little more time into like giving feedback on our projects or on our learning without that huge fear hanging over your head, or I'm gonna get like a super bad grade on this. I feel like that just maybe like a practice assignment to get that crucial feedback, and then like another assignment like this is the real thing. I feel like that would work a lot better and like maybe diminish that sense of urgency and perfectionism, having to be perfect the first time.
Can I go with Habiba?
I really don't know exactly.
Okay. Isha? We can come back to you, Isha. Mikael?
I also don't really know how to answer the question. Like, I can't really get an answer to the top of my head right now.
Would you like us to come back to you?
Maybe if I could think of something.
Okay. Rose?
I personally think that it would be helpful for teachers to have like, because we talk a lot about the best way to like abolish microaggressions and abolish racial bias in the classroom and all that, but we never really get into like specifics of how to do that. I think it would be helpful if teachers had like an outline of like, okay, here's exactly how I can prove this, and here's what this like comment or this like what this might imply to a student, or this is how this might make someone feel, and here's how to make it better. Like a specific outline of that type of thing, and how to not imply racial connotations in like the classroom and stuff.
Victoria?
I'd say we could do a little bit more with staff accountability, because I feel like that's where I like see the most racism in my school. And so I feel like, and even if we could just do like more transparency and like follow up when racial instances happen with teachers in the classroom, I feel like that would be much appreciated.
And as for me, I think it's important to just hold teachers accountable. You know, because there's lots of times where teachers, they just get to go about their day without addressing the situation, and I would like to see that happen more. Now, Isha, would you like to share? We called on you earlier, but you didn't answer. Okay, Mikael, did you?
I thought of something. I was gonna say, teachers could like help with like not only like not only talking about like racism and stuff on like Black History Month, but like also like talking about it like every few weeks in class, and like getting to show kids that it's also important to honor Black people.
All right, Kali, I think that concludes this piece of it, right?
Yes, that's everything.
And give it up for the student panelists. That was amazing. So these are just, again, these will be available online, but we have 3 slides that just show the recommendations. These are recommendations from the very first year and some of the progress that's made. So there has been restorative responses to discipline. The student handbooks were revamped. The safety task force reviewed the use of SROs in schools. Like the students noticed, the school counselors worked on getting students of the global majority to have peers that look like them in their classes. And strategic plan priority area number 4 is hiring BIPOC teachers that look like the staff. Affinity spaces are helping with safety and relationship mapping as well. And then a lot of students talked about staff accountability, and I just want to let you know, you sometimes don't see it, but the Office of Equity does collaborate with Human Resources, HR, to work on any complaints of staff behaving badly, go through that route. The Restorative Code of Conduct has a staff accountability piece, and we've started launching staff learning pathways that teachers do some learning when they mess up, just like anyone. The pieces that we need to work on is definitely the mental health pieces. And then last year's recommendations, again, had a lot to do with staff accountability, but as well as curricular harm. All right. Sparks, do you want to say something? And then we'll.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add, as we think about priority area number 4, we really want to make sure we are hiring faculty and staff that look like our students. And how do we, it's not just bringing those folks in, it's always how do we retain those folks and keep them in the work, in the district. And I wanted to say thank you to our students. We don't just have students create these lists of things that they want to see us change. My responsibility and commitment is that we are looking at that list and making changes and or going back to students and saying, we can't change this and here's why. But I don't want students coming up and creating these things that they want to see different that we don't aggressively respond to. Back to you, Autumn.
So thank you. So that concludes our presentation part, but we always like to open it up for any questions. Students can ask questions. Any of the other participants can ask questions, and we'll take a minute to respond. Jay Funk, hi. Do you have any ideas for how to eradicate white supremacy culture and decolonize our ideas about literacy to remove the focus on the written word? That is such a great question. I mean, I think personally, I'm just going to respond from my teacher hat on for a minute. And I'm going to say that the UDL's work, the Universal Design for Learning work that really was designed for students with disabilities, really tweaked my understanding of how people can respond and show their learning. And also my experience at the Integrated Arts Academy as well, that thinking about it's not always the written word. It's not always an essay. It's not always a pen and ink test, but there are so many different ways to show learning, including using multimedia resources. Any other questions? Students, you good?
Yes,
Yep.
thank you for this opportunity.
Yep, all good.
Yeah.
Okay, Tracy asked, are the capstone projects available to view on the district webpage? Yes, you can type in Summer Racial Justice Academy, BSD, and you can see the capstone projects, their slideshows and some of their slam poems, the documentation video, they're all there. See if I can put it in. Phew. Students, you should know and check yourself out too if you haven't gone to that webpage. All right, I would like to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, students, for being here and sharing your stories. I was really, really, really grateful to hear your reflections on the work, on the great work that you're doing and how it's impacting you. So thank you. Good night,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Autumn. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Talib, good job.
Thank you.
All right. Stop recording.